All right, welcome back to the SilmFilm Script Discussion, Season 3, Episode 8, Part 3.
Season 3, Part 8.
No, it's not. Don't do that to my brain. My brain will break if you do that. So, yeah, we are still trying to nail down our protagonist. But because it's kind of a complex question, it's kind of unavoidable that that's going to happen.
Well, for protagonists, do we want the person who makes the most important decisions in the episode? Do we want the person who has the most emotional impact from the events in the episode? Do we want the person who is changing the most over the course of the episode? Like, what's our goal? What do we want out of a protagonist in this particular episode?
Well, the two people who are going to change the most over the course of this episode are clearly Mithros and Amrod. Wow. Keep getting.
Well, Amrod too, actually.
Well, yes, Amrod will change from being an elf to an ex-elf. Yes, that is true.
His charred remains are going to be totally different than. Okay, sorry.
So yes, he will turn into Ambarbecue. But here's my issue. Mithros, I feel like, has a better storyline all the way through.
I like that.
I know you like that. I know I don't have to sell this to you. There's more that we can do with him throughout the entire episode. Whereas Amros has a big payoff at the end, but there's not a lot that we can do with him at the beginning. So I'm concerned that it's going to be difficult for the audience to feel for him. I feel like the audience is still going to be attracted to the story that is being told from Mithros more, even if we are focusing on Amros.
Well, one thing to keep in mind is that if Amrod is actually making a decision to go back to Valinor at some point during all of this, then Amros is the natural person for him to talk to about any decision making he's doing.
And that's why is reluctant to join the shipburning, because he realizes, wait, I'm not entirely 100% completely certain that Amrod is not on board still. Like, I thought I talked him out, but what if I did?
But for a episode long story, then we could see, does he agree with his brother, disagree? Is he concerned about what Feanor is going to do if he catches them? Is he, where is he in all of this? And if we come up with a compelling story for Amros for all of that, then that might be okay.
Yeah.
Because Mithros is going to rebel against their father in that he's going to disagree with the decision Feanor made and publicly disagree and stand aside. Like, that's huge. But apparently Amrod was also about to make an equally significant decision on his own apart from his father. So we could play up that side of the story and then have it be almost a surprise that Mithros is the one who makes that move and Amrod's is a silent failure.
Yeah.
But, so we could structure it that way if that's the story we wanted to tell. And that's what I was saying is, like, where are we looking for the emotional payoff and where are we looking for the practical payoff?
The twins.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because one of them burns to death. You're true. You're true. You're right.
His reaction is going to be the strongest. I mean, they're all, happy about this, but, like, we're going to have a, like, Amros and Martin in some way.
We might do something with that in the next episode as far as his long-term effects from this, but honestly, I don't know how much we're going to do with that. Like, we want it to be, that's what Amros's story is. Anything ever again until 500 years from now. So
we do have time to develop his story. So it's not necessarily that we're ignoring history now, but also keep in mind that we're going to have maybe about 10 minutes or so to wrap up the aftermath of the burning.
Really do more than that, because we've got Kierdan and we've got the brothers reacting.
Right, but the scene with Kierdan is about a 4-minute scene. The scene at the end,
Fire and sails towards it, and he finds the ruins. So that's 2 scenes.
Yes, but that's
well,
but you don't have. Go on.
As part of the ship burning, we can have a reaction scene of people from further away seeing the fire, which cuts to Turgon's vision, which, you know, and then returns later for Kierdan to find the remains. So yes, we can have Kierdan in one of the reaction shots to seeing the ships burning as we do a transition. That would be brief. That would just be like, here is Kierdan. Here are some ships on fire. Moving on.
Makes sense. So the ships show the ships burning, show, you know, focus action of Amros, of you know, the people who are actually involved with Feanorians, but then like show, no, I mean, I feel like Turgon's vision is something that happens afterwards, not during it.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is that what happens afterwards is Kierdan arriving on the shore and finding the burned ships. We need to have the Fingolfin contingent actually traveling, right? Well, yes, reacting to the burning of the ships and having their final climactic moment. But you got to remember the 4th act is about 15 minutes.
Maybe.
All right, and I would say that the burning of the ships is like the first thing that happens, right? In that act.
Maybe it should happen in Act 3. If they're each only 15 minutes.
Yeah, each act is 15 minutes.
It's not a hard and fast thing. It's only 15 minutes, but it's like just, you know, keep aware, and it's not even. It's actually more like 12 minutes, to be honest. Dave made a couple of comments here. Whoever is our main character in this episode needs an arc within the episode itself, and it sounds like Maedhros is the better choice for that. My recollection from the main discussion was that the host of Fingolfin can't see the burning from the eastern shores of Milan. Yeah, that was. I understand that choice. I don't think I don't feel as strongly about it as they do, but I'm willing to abide by that. I get where they're coming from.
I feel pretty strongly about that. I hate when you can see things that you should have no business seeing on TV. Like, here I am standing like a zillion miles away looking out and seeing something. It's like, no, you are not. You did not see that.
I get it.
But we can portray it as if they saw it for real, because Turgon's vision can correspond to the real time of the event. It could be like a
Turgon.
I was standing there vision.
Turgon will see the burning of the ships from afar in his vision, certainly. I do want to do more with that, but the reason why you don't put your climactic events before the 4th act is that you need to build up to them. You need to, once again, you need to sell the emotional impact before you get there.
Can't there secondary climax and what the Finn people are doing?
Yes, but that's more the fallout from it, right? That's the denouement. That's okay. So
I couldn't hear anything you said. Could you repeat it, please?
Sure, no problem. So basically, what you have to do when you're setting up for the climax of an episode, you need to build up to that point. And once you get that emotional release, then you have a fairly limited amount of time before the audience loses interest in what you're doing. They kind of stop caring. So that's why the big important event in most successful television shows happens in like the last 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the length of the episode. If it's a half hour show, then it's usually within the last 5 minutes of the episode. And then there's like a short 2-minute tag after that. in an hour-long show, you have more time than that. Here's what. Okay, so you remember in the third Hobbit movie when
the
the
death of Smaug in the
dragon,
beginning of the film.
right? The dragon
Gotcha.
right, yeah, and Dave's giving us a big thumbs down. The dragon comes in, and there's this big climactic battle over the town, and they kill the dragon, and it feels like nothing because you just sat down.
Mhm.
You know, it doesn't
No,
have
I
it doesn't
that was-
have any emotional resonance because you don't care. It doesn't matter, and
I
it's
think
not like
I hated that decision for that reason.
right.
Because there was no reason they couldn't have killed the dragon at the end of the second film. Like, it would have made sense. It fit the storyline and everything. They just randomly end the movie with the dragon having flown
No,
away.
it's not random. They wanted to give the dwarves a big action set piece because they wanted to
Whatever.
focus. I'm not saying that it was the right decision. I think it was
Right.
the
My
wrong
point is,
decision.
the movie
But I
ends with the dragon
understand.
just flying off,
Right.
shaking off his molten
I
gold
think
or
we can
whatever.
all agree that Peter Jackson. I didn't even watch them.
Okay. Well,
The
I
Hobbit
did.
films left,
Um,
but the foolishness of putting the death of the dragon at the beginning of the third film is felt because there's no emotional impact from it. Like, you don't even care that there's a dragon on screen yet. You're like, yeah, whatever, because you just started the film and it's like, oh yeah, there's this dragon. Oh, he's dead. Okay, good. Like, it means nothing. There are films that can start with an action piece like that, and it's okay. There's the
But
BBC
it's not
production.
supposed to be an action sequence that you care about.
Well,
Can
I
I-
mean, the BBC's version of the Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which is about magicians during the Victorian, or like Pride and Prejudice with magicians, is essentially what it is. For anyone who hasn't read the book, it's got a scene in an episode that starts out. It's like a 6 or 7 part. It's like a 7-part miniseries or a 6-episode thing, or whatever you want to look at it. And one of the episodes starts with the Battle of Waterloo. Like, Napoleon is there and the magicians are fighting, because that's the thing that happens in this book. And that's kind of their big military sequence. And it was a surprising choice to put it at the beginning of an episode. But it worked for them
okay.
because they did it as like war flashbacks. So you already knew that your main character had come back from the war, and he was like, he's looking out the window and his hand is shaking, and like he's dealing with the fact that he was at the Battle of Waterloo. And then they show the Battle of Waterloo. So the removed melancholy mood fits what they just showed, even though it was their big battle action set piece.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The BBC can pull off stuff like that, and it did work, even though it was a weird choice. But you have to be really careful doing that. Smaug did not work. The death of Smaug is bleh. Also sandworms, but shh.
Go on, Phelan. I can hear you. What were you saying?
Would it work to have the last scene in the Act 3 to have Act 3 end with like, hearing Amrod screaming?
Okay, so if hearing Amrod screaming is the act break, the audience is going to expect like a mad rush to try and rescue him. I mean, which I guess we could do, but I don't want that to be the focus.
It's too late to rescue.
Right, I understand. I get it. But I'm saying that if you put it at that point in the emotional through line of the story, that's kind of what rationally follows.
If an episode of TV ends with somebody in a precarious, dangerous, deadly situation, the audience is left with the question of how will this character survive in the next episode, and you can't cheat. Well, yes, so you can't cheat the audience too badly. You can't set them up for a dramatic rescue that doesn't happen unless you have another alternative dramatic rescue that you're going to slip in, and like it was a bait and switch of some sort. So you got them emotionally prepared for one thing, and then it didn't happen, but it actually does happen elsewhere.
Right, or
like you can kind of,
or you can have it be attempted and it fail, but it would have to. But then again, that's then your big action set piece. That's then your climax, and you remember how people were questioning the idea of Amrod's death because they were afraid that it was going to lessen the impact of the burning itself. If you put too much focus on trying on, because of course, the brothers would try to rescue their brother. Of course they would, but we're not actually going. But if you show that, it really puts the focus on Amrod's death rather than on the ships.
Yeah. I mean, we do the audience for the fact that like all of everybody's gonna, like all the characters are gonna die at like character named character.
Yeah, yeah, and we've got plenty of death to go around. Dave is saying the best TV episodes I remember are things that break with the climax in the last 2 minutes. West Wing, Two Cathedrals, and TNG Best of Both Worlds. That TNG Best of Both Worlds is an excellent example because that is known as I mean, a lot of people argue it's the best Star Trek episode ever made.
Which one is it?
It's the
What happens in
one
it?
where Captain Picard has been captured by the Borg, and Riker is now in command of the ship, and he's got Commander Shelby, who's his second in command, but she's like really ambitious, and she's trying to like knock him down at every turn. It's very, very good.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So that, I mean, that's a good example of how to pull off a good two-part. Yes. With there's a podcaster named Matt Peterson. He works with Major Spoilers, and he said that he described it as the Riker makes the Rikerest face that he's ever Rikered, and says the word fire. Yeah, and then in the second part of the episode, they resolve that combat in the beginning of the next episode. But you do care about it because it is a cliffhanger. And the Enterprise flees from that combat very, very quickly, though. Like they don't waste a lot of time with that as a big action set piece. The big climax of the movie happens much later. Of the episode happens much later, when they manage to get Picard back, and Data is kind of talking to him through like his cybernetic implants and stuff like that. And they're able to find a way to kind of break down the Borg ship. Right. But that all happens within like the last 5 to 8 minutes or so. There's a scene after that where Picard is kind of dealing with the aftermath of having been Borg. Riker is dealing with the idea of, am I ever going to take command? But that all happens in one scene at the end of the show, and it's probably about 4 to 5 minutes long. So just to kind of give you.
So are we more going to be doing the emotional reactions of the brothers, like just their initial reaction? I mean.
No. Well, kind of, but we're going to get verbal reactions from Mydros and Amros, certainly, but it's not going to be a lot of time. We're not spending 20 minutes talking to these guys.
Part of the focus of that conversation at the end needs to be on Feanor blaming the Oath for this happening,
right?
Because Feanor's not about to take responsibility for his son's death.
Yeah, and
no.
Someone has to say it's better that he died. Someone has to say it's better that he died instead of breaking the oath and going into the void.
Mm-hmm.
And that someone is Feanor.
Yeah.
And have the do we need to have an ending tag with the frame?
There will be a tag in the frame, absolutely. And as Dave is saying, I think reactions to the brothers would be great, Daniel Mob, possibly with a musical number for emotional impact. Yeah, I think there is going to be an emotional musical overlay where we see the face of the brothers, but we do need to hear from Mydros, Amros, and Feanor. That said, we also need to take a break. So if you're watching us live, definitely hang in there. We'll be right back. I think this is going to be a pretty short break unless anybody needs to do anything. If you're watching us on YouTube in the future, definitely like and share the videos. If you want to share them. If you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe. Check out the links below. Get information on the SilmFilm project. It has been a galaxy of fun, I'm here to tell you. Signum University, Mythgard Academy / Institute, and Mythmoot 5 coming up on June 21st to the 24th. It's going to be awesome at the National Convention Center in Leesburg, Virginia. We'll be back in a minute.